G'day listeners, Danny Crouch here, the listening coach from chooseyourchapter.com.au, and we're here today to learn to activate with Luke. Luke's a friend of mine, he's a fellow coach, he's our activator, and we're going to learn all about why we need to start to activate. So, g'day Luke, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you for this opportunity, Danny.
Pleasure, thank you. So, as I said, we've got about half an hour, 40 minutes of learning to activate. So let's get straight into it. So on this topic, what do you feel is the main issue or problem around people not activating what they need to activate?
Procrastination. I think that the biggest problem that we face is, do we or don't we? And the outside influences that we listen to also you see and hear of people just getting bogged down with all the information that keeps coming in and never really making a decision. And say, for instance, you have 5 friends, and out of those 5 friends, you'll get 5 different opinions on whether you should do this or not do this. And that information that you get can really hurt your activating skills, especially on a decision that you know you should make, but you don't.
Cool. So who's at risk, or who's going to benefit from learning about activating and activation?
I think everybody can learn from activating, especially when it comes to the decision making, because of that procrastination that we all tend to build up in ourselves. Learning to activate is about listening. It's about understanding. It's about, where am I going? Why am I going there? And that topples in with all the goals and expectations you have for your life. So I guess everybody can focus and benefit from activating 100%.
Okay, and what are they going to gain from overcoming the procrastination? What are they going to gain from becoming activators?
Control and command, 100%. The two biggest things for me. Command from the point, well, where's my life heading? Or say, for instance, I'm a sports player. Where am I heading in my career? Am I going to allow my career to unfold, or am I going to get command and control and head in a direction that I want to head into? And along the way, we're going to have to learn to be adaptable to different circumstances. And when we activate and we're using all this energy and understanding on where we're going and what we're doing it for, then that activation comes so much easier. And by having the command and control of the destiny, for a better word, you have a certain level of comfortability, just something where you can breathe and say, I've got this. It's okay. I know where I'm going. I have control. There is command here. That would be the best way I could explain it.
Awesome. So how are they at risk, or what factors contribute, or why is it important to solve this issue? I think you've touched on it.
I think the biggest reason for not activating is that procrastination. The questions that you ask yourself can really change the course of your activating. So, for instance, if I ask myself a close question, can I, can't I, then I'm only ever going to get yes or no answer. How can I changes everything, because then we start to look at the picture of where I'm heading. So the risk factor gets lower and lower because I have a picture, I have a feeling, I have a whole story that I can follow through with. It's like a visualization, for an example. A lot of times when people visualize, they don't make it real. It's not real enough. I coach a lot of sports players, and within that, you ask them, oh, how's your visualization going? Oh, yeah, it's going great. Yeah, okay. Why aren't we seeing the results that we thought we would see based on the visualization? And most of the times, you hear them saying, well, I see this, and this. However, when I ask them questions like, well, where are you? Who's throwing the ball? Who's hitting it? who are you facing? What team are you playing against? What ground are you at? All these sort of things that factor in. What is the crowd noise making? Until that's there, it's not real. It's got to be a feeling. So when we visualize, we can lower the risk because we can play the story. When we play the story, we can see the things that come up, and then based on that, those problems, we can solve them there. So therefore, if we've done it a million times in our mind, we can do it a million times and get it right in our life, and it will never stop us because we've done it all before. We've played out the problems and we've solved them. So for me, I think that visualization is probably a big key factor. And again, it gives you that control and command that we're so after. Everybody wants that. Well, most people do. And for that, I think visualization is a really big key. You've just got to make it real.
So how do they know, or how do they first recognise they've got a problem with procrastination, or they've got a problem actually getting started?
I think a feeling. I mean, you could sit if you find yourself sitting on the couch all the time, not really connecting with anybody or not really living the life that you've wanted to, or the questions and the thoughts that run through your mind are always on a negative, there's more than likely a high percentage that you're procrastinating throughout your life for whatever reason that might be. But the problem is this: we get bogged down looking for a problem. The problem can be whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's what you choose to make it mean. And where we go from there is probably the biggest motivator to get you up. So to answer your question, if we're living in a negative viewpoint, or it's not exciting, or we're not feeling life and experiencing the things that we want to experience, there's more than likely a chance that that person is procrastinating. And whether it's a problem for you or not is your choice. Are you happy to procrastinate? That's up to you. Are you happy to sit there and live in this self-loathing and not really moving forward, or not really growing or educating or contributing to community or whatever it is that you have always pictured yourself to be doing? Then get out there and make something happen. Activate yourself. How can you activate yourself? Well, you can do that in a couple of different ways. You can play the video like we talked about before with the visualization, or find a way of connecting it and just do it. Don't sit back and wait for it. Start small. Start with, maybe it's something, meeting people, for an example. Meeting people and connecting with people can lead you in so many different places based on the people you can connect with. So if you were to put yourself out there and meet one new person today, walk past somebody on the street and say, hey, how you going? All of a sudden we're into a conversation. Things change. Different things build, and all of a sudden we get a momentum happening because we're proving to ourselves that we can do this. And it's okay. And I'm safe. And this is cool. And this is great fun. And I'm meeting all these great different people. Or if you're a sports player, go out there and try something a little different with your game. Maybe you're a golf player and you're not quite getting it right. Well, what are you doing different with your swing? Try something new. If it doesn't work, change it. It's okay. But unless you're getting used to getting out there and creating something different and trying on different hats, different clothes, how would you know that you can or can't do something?
Okay, so you activate through change.
Definitely, 100%.
Awesome.
100%. And it's all about acting. Action, activating, it's all about action. You can't just sit there and wait for it to happen. And I guess that's where the negative point would come with visualization, for an example. Because, well, I'm thinking it, why aren't I doing it? Well, that's the difference. And you hear people say that so often, is, I'm thinking it, this is what they're telling me to do, why isn't it happening? And the part that you've left out is the action bit. You've seen the video, go and play it.
Okay. So is there a link between where someone is mentally and physically and emotionally when they're procrastinating, or when they're not activating the way you recommend?
I would have thought so, yes. Where are you heading? And we tend to build up on those emotions. and bog down with those emotions. But if you allow them to continue to play out like a bad song or a terrible record, then they'll control the space in between your ears. And once that control's there, it's up to you to break it. You've got to break it and you change the record. And one good way of doing that is just play a different tune. Find a different way of breaking that mold. We can do that in so many different ways, whether it's playing different music, saying to ourselves, have cues, and label what's happening. Well, this isn't right. So, say for instance, I'm thinking negatively about going to a new course. I don't know, I'm not going to be able to meet anybody, I'm not going to fit in or whatever. Then I need to say, hey, stop, label it whatever it is. For one off the top of my head, I'm not activating. What am I doing? I'm ruminating. Why am I playing this in my head? Label it. Once we label it, we can understand it because that word will mean something to us. And every time it comes up, label it, bang, we're on top of it. We can then throw it away, find something else. I think that the one thing that we both know this is throughout our trainings, we've been told that to break the mold and to break that tune that's playing in our head is to think of something funny. And one of those things that we get from Joe and Sharon especially is a camel humping a tortoise. To me, that doesn't work. It always makes me laugh because I don't see how a camel could do that to a tortoise, but it definitely breaks up the mold from me. And I then get control and command and back on my thoughts. Get control and command of my thoughts, I can then get control of my actions and how I'm feeling. So by shifting the thought, we shift the feeling, we shift the place in where we're at, and then we get control of that space between our ears. Yeah.
Yep. We lost a bit of airtime there, I think. So, what contributes to the main problem? What's how people tried to deal with this in the past?
In most cases, they haven't. They haven't tried to deal with it at all. They've just allowed the same old to continue to unfold instead of changing it. Just changing the way we think about things. And Wayne Dyer says, well, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. And by doing that, we can literally not sit there and wait for something to happen. One of my biggest things that I teach throughout, especially coaching and sports coaching especially, is focus on the action, not the result. Most of the time, the way people deal with things is try and change the result, change the outcome. However, there's a process in place for that. And most times you see people trying to change that outcome or result, then by trying to change that, they're trying to change the action. And then by changing the action, they're trying to change the thought and the process that goes behind it. The brain shouldn't be the last thing that hears and does anything. It should be the other way around. So if we were to get the thought right and the process right, we can then change the action that'll give us the result we're after. So for me, focus on the action, not the result, is a great way of starting that momentum forward. But because we tend to focus so much on the result and the outcome, we can never get to where we want to be, because what we're focusing on is the negative part that's not working. So we need to change the way we look at it and change the way we process it and move forward with it.
Cool. So how hasn't it worked? And then on the other side, how has it worked when you've got these sort of results?
So how it hasn't worked is I'll use a player that I work with in softball. Her name's Gemma, and Gemma for 2 years has not tried to change her thinking around what she's doing. She's always tried to change the outcome. And because she's constantly trying to change the outcome and the actions in which she does, what's happened is she's plateaued as a player. Now, this is a player that could probably play for Australia at some stage in her career, and she's just plateaued and stopped. She's gotten to an age and then bang, it ends. And she's not taking steps forward until recently. So recently, in the last 3 months, we've been working together on changing the way she thinks about what she's doing so that she can understand what it is that she's doing to get the outcome that she wants. And once we change that, she has grown. In what she's done in 2 years, she's outdone in 3 months. And the action now is people are knocking on her door for her to go across the world to play ball. And the same thing in life. Same person, really, stuck in a mold because that was the thinking. That was the way she did her stuff, was I know everything and nobody can help me and I need to continually change the result, never the action, because the action seemed to her to be too difficult. But as soon as we changed the thought, the action, she could see different ways in which she could do things because it was accessible to her. Instead of being closed off, she was accessing that part of her brain that allows her to have options. And once she had the options, she could choose the action that led to the result that she wanted. And now, again, her grades have gone up and she's starting to get control and becoming a really strong young woman who deserves all the accolades she can get.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so example of both ways for the one person. That's awesome. So,
yeah.
So what steps can someone follow to become more activated or to create a better experience when it comes to activating themselves?
I think the best thing you could do is write down what it is you want. List them. Just list the little things. And just keep stretching yourself every time you write them. And make that list as big as it needs to be. Okay? And then what you'll probably find is that somewhere along that line, you would have gotten serious about what it really was that you wanted. And all superficial things will be gone. Just keep stretching it. One more thing. Once you have those things, let's pick top 5 of what it is that we really want to experience. And then write down the thought process that I would need to have those things. Those are the outcomes that we want. What is the thought that needs to come behind it to have those things? And then what you'll find is, and your mind will start running at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden you'll come up with all these thought processes that we could have. Like, say, for instance, I want to start reading books. I've never read books in my life, and I want to start reading books. What is the thought process in which I'd have to be able to read books? Well, I need to be open to information, and I would need to be excited by words. Okay, so what's the action now? Well, the action is to find a particular topic that will excite me to be excited by the words, to be excited by what they're talking about. So then I find something, and here's the outcome. Now I'm reading. And that could take us anywhere then. Because once we've trained ourselves to be able to think in a certain way, we'll be able to train ourselves to have the action, then we'll be able to have the outcome that we're after. That would be a good process. So writing a list of what it is that you want to experience as outcomes, have the thought processes behind what it is that we want out of those top 5, and then just let your mind run free on how it is we can do it. And have action plans for each one. Maybe there's 3 or 4 different action plans. I just read something recently in a book called Change Your Thinking. And one thing that was discussed in that book was write down the problems that can arise by those actions. And then understanding that what problems are probably going to arise from those actions, you can then tick off how to fix them. Activating can be a lot easier now because once you start to understand how this all comes together, you'll be able to do this within a flash of a blink of an eye. Even though this right now seems like such a strenuous task, it's just a start. It's a way of getting moving. It's like trying to push a fully loaded locomotive with no motor. Just trying to push it. It's not going to move. You could be out there pushing as hard as you like, but it's not going to move until you have that process in place. This process allows you just to get it moving. And you know what? You might get through it and go, you know what? This is not really what I want. And that's okay. Start again. This is not what I want. I don't want all this stuff because this isn't really important to me. That's okay. Start again. Yeah? And get real with yourself. This can be pretty confronting because a lot of the times when we come to our goals and aspirations, we tend to go, well, this is what everybody's telling me I should want. But this is not what I really want. And so by doing these sort of plans and these sort of action plans allows us to go, because you're faced with it, can be pretty confronting. So we write them down and now we're faced with them, we're looking at them. And then we get a chance to go, you know what, this isn't for me. It's okay. Start again. Rethink. Have that flexibility to go, this just isn't for me. What is it that I really want? And you know what? You might be just in a limbo for 5 or 10 minutes, but that's okay. Just breathe. Let it come. Stay open. And I believe that in times when I've seen people do that, I've seen them change the way they go about everything. Their whole life changes because their thought process changes. And before you know it, they're not living a life that they should be leading. They're leading a life that they want to be leading. And that is the biggest part of activating.
Yeah, cool. So you touched on earlier one of your team members, I suppose it is, that had gone through succeeding, I suppose, and overcoming their procrastination or their different way of thinking. What characteristics and values and experiences can we look for, or can our listeners look for to overcome this?
I believe your values are yours. And your values don't always they're things that we want to experience on a day-to-day basis. So doing a values test is really, really important, I think, because it allows us to get down and dirty, if you like, and understand ourselves and reconnect. I don't think there's ever one value that we need to be looking for or ever one thing that we need to have to do the things we need to do. I think the biggest thing for me is connecting and reconnecting back with what is important to us instead of what is important to everybody else around us. That's the biggest key. Values tests for me are really good. Core needs tests are really good because it just angles us back into us. So that's what I would head our listeners to. I would just say, stop listening to everybody. Get connected to yourself. And then just work out what outcomes you want. What do you want to experience? And those values are going to challenge your belief systems that you've built or that other people have built around you.
Awesome. So how does this problem relate to other concepts like motivation and confidence and as you said, values and needs and strengths? How does it hinder and influence other areas of your life?
Well, it would hinder and influence. Actually, I don't think it would hinder. I think it would influence only. Because we're connected. We're connected to us. We are no longer pushing in a direction that we should be pushing in. We're pushing in a direction that we want to be pushing in. And it connects us to what it is that we really want. What is it that you really want? What is it that excites you? And why aren't you living it? What's your reasons? They're really good questions to start with. We could raffle off 1,000 more, but ultimately, what is important to you, and why aren't you experiencing it? And you could list 1,000 things that you do day to day and work out exactly what it is you want.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I suppose I meant the hinder is in procrastination and help is in activation. So yeah, I think you've covered that beautifully anyway. Brilliant. All really good stuff. So how can our listeners view this problem, or how can it be thought about and applied to in the future?
I think just a self-evaluation. Be honest with yourself. Nobody else can hear what you're saying in subject. So, I mean, I've been guilty of it before, where we start to think about things and go, oh, hang on, I'm not going to think about that. How about we just need to put our ego just aside, come sit down on the couch over here, and you just be quiet for a minute. Get rid of that chatter, and think the way you think. Think the way you want, not the way you've been conditioned to. And to take it into the future, we need to sometimes think about the first thing that comes up in our heads, because the ego tends to tell us that we shouldn't be, or we can't, or what have you, because of outside influences of which that we've watched or heard or listened to or whatever. So our first initial instincts, we need to start trusting a little more instead of second-guessing ourselves. Moving forward isn't about second-guessing myself. It isn't about what does my wife think, what does my best friend think, or what are the people that I hang around with, what do they think? It's about what I think and being comfortable with that. Because people don't love you, accept you, or think you're good enough because of something a front that you put up. They accept you and love you and think you're good enough because of who you are. So if you're playing the wrong tape, that's when you're going to get that miscommunication. That's when you're going to get that breakdown of friendships. That's when you're going to have lots of drama, because it's not you. It's the best way of moving forward would be just to reconnect with you. And like I'm saying, values. We go back into a values assessment, you will find that those values are not necessarily the values that you would have thought you would have put there. Ultimately, based on the assessment, it's not necessarily going to be wrong. It's got a high percentage of being right. However, what it's doing is it's showing us that this is the life that I thought I was living. This is what I'm showing everybody, but this is really me. So moving forward, connect with you. Be you. What's wrong with being you? That'd be one question, and that I would say listeners should answer. What is wrong with being you?
Cool. We're running a bit short on time here, so we'll wrap it up with one more question, and we'll learn a little bit more about you. To finish up, what's the most useful thing to understand about learning to activate?
The most useful thing would be focus on the action of the result. Let go. And just say yes to you. Stop stopping, effectively. Just get out there and make it happen. Get out there and be in control and love who you are within what you have right now. And be okay with that. It's okay.
Nike.
Love you. What was that?
Nike,
yeah, just do it. Get out there. Say yes. Let go and say yes. Get out there.
I love it. Just get activated. Awesome. All right, well, let's have a look at how the listeners can find you. Let's have a look here. Oh, it's going off a bit. So what have we got there? Okay. For those of you that don't know, we've got a Choose Your Chapter Facebook page. That's obviously not the one I wanted to show you. We've got Luke's page here. So this is Goal Central on Facebook. So a lot of you guys out there use Facebook rather than the standard websites these days. But you can find Luke through here, I'm guessing, mate. Is that right? They just send you a message, hit like that?
Yep.
Yeah.
and they'll get the ongoing posts that I always put up.
Yeah. Okay. So Goal Central, obviously very goal orientated. You've got the Gallup Strength Center analysis there. We all recommend everyone does that. That's really cool. All right. And then obviously they can jump on over to your website and learn directly about you guys. So that's Goal Central there. You want to tell us a little bit about what you do over here, mate, and why you do what you do?
Yeah. The main focus of what I do here is to just reconnect and create. You don't necessarily have to be a leader, but personal leadership is really important, because if you don't have it, you're living a life that's not yours. You're just going to flow through the motions and live life, or just let life happen instead of live it, for a better way of putting it. So what I try and do here is, what the main goal here is, just reconnecting and educating. Educate people on how they can be what it is that they want to be. They want to have deeper connections and have a better understanding of language or communication. Then we offer workshops and stuff for that. Whether it's leadership as a total package, how can I be a better leader and connect with my team, or I'm having team issues. That's what we're about here.
Awesome. So leadership, values and beliefs. I love it.
Yep.
So obviously you got your mobile number there. That's in Australia. I'm guessing that might have to change shortly because you're going to have a few international calls calling you. And then you can obviously find out about us. You've got books and coaching and workshops and some really cool workshops and packages there. And obviously just click on the contact page and you'll probably get an email address and all that sort of stuff. So seriously cool. There's some goals to focus on for our listeners. That was brilliant, mate. Really loved it.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, the listeners, thank you very much for the time that you've given us. And I think there's a few of us out there that still profess to procrastination and not getting shit done. But I think after learning to activate today with you, Luke, that we're really going to start moving forward and activating what we want to do in life. So thank you very much on behalf of all of our listeners. Yeah, okay. All right, well, there we have it. There's Luke and Learn to Activate. I'm Danny Crouch, the listening coach from chooseyourchapter.com.au. We'll be listening next time, so tune on in and we'll find another coach for you to listen to. All the best and see you next time. Ciao for now.